All right, welcome to the deep dive. So you're here probably because weight loss medications have caught your eye, and today we're zeroing in on liraglutide.
Yeah.
And in this deep dive, like what we really want to do is help you figure out, does it actually work?
Mm.
And if you're thinking about it, what do you absolutely have to know?
Yeah, that's the core question. We've gone through the research clinical trials, what people are actually saying about it out there, the science behind how it works, all to answer that question for you. Is it a real option? And what are the need-to-know details if you're thinking about it?
Okay, so first things first, what even is liraglutide?
So liraglutide is in a class of medications called GLP-1 receptor agonists. Now, GLP-1, that stands for glucagon-like peptide 1. And basically, your body naturally makes GLP-1, and it acts like a signal that helps control your appetite and your blood sugar. And what liraglutide does is it's basically a synthetic version that mimics, that copies the actions of that naturally occurring hormone.
Okay, so it's mimicking a hormone that's already there.
Mhm.
How does that translate into weight loss? What's going on inside your body?
So it works in a few main ways. First, it slows down how quickly food moves through your, digestive system. So that means you feel full longer after you eat. And that can lead to you just naturally eating less overall. And second, it directly reduces your appetite, so those urges to snack between meals, they might become less intense. And then third, it helps regulate your blood sugar levels. And that can help prevent those sudden spikes and crashes that often make you crave sugary or high-carb foods.
Right, that makes sense. So it's sort of working with your body instead of like forcing something weird, right? This isn't just like a pill you pop though, is it?
No, it's not a pill. So liraglutide is given as a daily injection. And it's important to know that it's not meant to be like a solo act. It works best when you combine it with healthy lifestyle changes, so a balanced diet and getting some regular exercise. Think of it as like a tool that can really help support those efforts.
Okay, so we've got a picture of what it is, how it's supposed to work. But do the studies back it up? Like, does it actually work for people? This is where I really got interested.
Yeah, right. So the clinical trial data is really interesting. One big 56-week study showed that on average, people taking liraglutide lost about 5 to 10% of their body weight. Just to put that in perspective, if you started at 200 pounds, that could mean losing 10 to 20 pounds. And what's important here is that even that amount of weight loss, it's been shown to really reduce the risk of getting type 2 diabetes or improving blood pressure. So while it's not a magic number, it's a real, tangible health benefit.
That's a decent average, but I also saw that some people lost even more weight in those studies. Is that right?
Yeah, and this is the aha moment, I think. The data also suggests that there's like a synergy between liraglutide and really committing to those lifestyle changes. When people actively ate healthier and exercised regularly while they were on the medication, some of them lost 15 to 20 pounds, sometimes even more. So it's like the medication makes it easier to stick with those healthy habits. And those habits, in turn, they boost the medication's effects. It's not just the drug working by itself.
Okay, so clinical trials, they give us one view. But what about the real world? Like, what are people saying about their experiences with liraglutide, in the US, the UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand? What were the good things they were saying?
So we looked at user reviews from all those places, and there are some common themes, definitely on the positive side. Many people said they felt a lot less hungry, and those cravings that can really derail you, those went down too.
Yeah, that makes sense with how it affects digestion and appetite. What else were people finding helpful?
Lots of users talked about steady weight loss, often around 1 to 2 pounds a week. And that kind of gradual progress, that can be really encouraging because it feels less overwhelming and more like sustainable in the long run. And for people who are also dealing with blood sugar issues, a lot of them said their glucose levels improved, which is a huge plus, right?
Yeah.
And it was interesting, some users specifically said liraglutide helped them with emotional eating, which we know is a big struggle for so many people trying to lose weight.
It's not just about the numbers on the scale. It's like addressing those deeper habits. That's often the make or break for long-term success. But, with any medication, there's going to be downsides too. What were some of the cons that people reported?
Absolutely. So the biggest one, the one that came up the most, was nausea, and sometimes other digestive issues like vomiting or diarrhea. And it's worth noting that this is often worse when you first start taking it as your body's adjusting. But for some people, those side effects can stick around. Another concern was the cost. A lot of users said liraglutide was a real financial burden, especially if their insurance didn't cover weight loss specifically. And then the fact that it's a daily injection, that was a drawback for some. Some people found it uncomfortable or just inconvenient.
Yeah, those are definitely things to consider. You mentioned people noticing appetite changes pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So for someone thinking about this, how soon could they expect to see results, like on the scale?
Most people say they start to feel less hungry within the first few days. And in terms of actual weight loss, it's common to see some initial progress in those first 2 to 4 weeks. But it's important to have realistic expectations, you know. The most noticeable weight loss usually happens after using it consistently for about 3 to 6 months.
So it's a gradual process, not an overnight thing. Good to know. We've touched on side effects, but let's make sure everyone's clear on the important ones. What are the side effects people should really be aware of?
So we talked about nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. Headaches are also common. And if you're taking other medications for diabetes, watch out for low blood sugar. That means careful monitoring is super important. More rarely, there have been some reports of gallbladder problems. Now, a lot of these side effects, they tend to get better over time as your body adjusts, but it's crucial to talk to your doctor if they're persistent or severe. They can help you manage them or decide if the medication is still right for you.
Right, staying in touch with your doctor is key. Now, who is liraglutide actually, FOR? Are there guidelines for who it's appropriate for?
Yeah, so the FDA has set some specific criteria. Liraglutide is approved for adults who have a BMI of 30 or higher, which is considered obesity. It's also approved for adults with a BMI of 27 or higher if they have at least one weight-related health condition, like high blood pressure or type 2 diabetes. These guidelines are there to make sure the medication is being used by people who are likely to benefit from it more than any risks.
Okay. And on the other side, are there people who should not use liraglutide?
Yeah, definitely. So liraglutide is not recommended for people with a personal or family history of medullary thyroid carcinoma. That's a rare kind of thyroid cancer. It's also not recommended for anyone with a history of pancreatitis. Your doctor will ask you about your medical history to figure out if liraglutide is safe and appropriate for you specifically.
So safety first. Now, if you're weighing your options, it's good to know how liraglutide stacks up against other weight loss meds. Our sources had some interesting comparisons.
Right, let's look at semaglutide. You might know it's Wegovy. And then there's phentermine. That's been around longer. So liraglutide and semaglutide, they're both in the same class of drugs. They're both GLP-1 receptor agonists, and they're both injections. But a key difference is how often you take them. Liraglutide is daily, while semaglutide is usually weekly. Phentermine, that's different. It's a stimulant, and it comes in pill form, usually taken daily.
Got it. And in terms of weight loss, how do they compare? Like, how much weight do people typically lose?
Studies suggest that semaglutide might lead to a bit more weight loss on average. People have reported losing around 10 to 15% of their starting weight compared to the 5 to 10% we usually see with liraglutide. Phentermine, it also typically leads to 5 to 10% weight loss. So semaglutide might edge out the others in terms of weight loss, but liraglutide being daily, that allows for more, flexibility with the dose. Your doctor can adjust it more easily, which might be better for some people, especially if they're dealing with side effects.
How about the side effects? Are they similar across the board?
So with liraglutide and semaglutide, the common side effects are pretty similar, mostly nausea and other stomach issues. Phentermine, because it's a stimulant, it has a different set of side effects. Things like a faster heart rate, trouble sleeping. Those aren't as common with the GLP-1 agonists.
So that's a good comparison to keep in mind. So, big picture, what are your final thoughts on liraglutide? Is it worth considering?
Well, from what we've seen, liraglutide seems like a really useful tool, especially for people dealing with obesity, people who struggle with emotional eating, or people with weight-related conditions like type 2 diabetes. The clinical trials and what people are saying, it all points to liraglutide helping with real lasting weight loss. But it might not be the best fit if you really don't like meals or if you have a history of thyroid problems. In the end, it's a personal decision, and it's something to talk to your doctor about.
And if you are considering it, how do you actually get liraglutide?
So in the US, the UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, it's a prescription medication. That means you'll need to see a doctor. They'll assess your situation and decide if it's right for you.
Yeah.
You can't just buy it over the counter.
Right. And last but not least, how much does it cost? That's important.
Yeah, and without insurance, it can be pricey. Usually somewhere between $1,000 to $1,500 a month. That's something you really need to factor in. Talk to your doctor about it. They might know about insurance coverage or other options that are more affordable.
So wrapping up our deep dive on liraglutide. It looks like it can be a real help for weight loss, especially when you combine it with those lifestyle changes we all know are important. The side effects, like nausea, are something to keep in mind and talk to your doctor about. But a lot of people say the benefits, the weight loss, and the improvement in their overall health are worth it.
Yeah, it's a potential way to manage your weight, but it comes with things to think about, how it works, the possible side effects, the cost, and the fact that it's a daily injection.
And with that, we'll leave you with this thought. How do medications like liraglutide fit into your idea of well-being? Makes you think, It's not just about the number on the scale. It's about exploring different ways to live a healthier, happier life. Thanks for diving deep with us.